Okay, before I get started, I want to do a little survey. So how many of you have ever heard about Hillstone brand before you joined this event? Okay, better than I thought. Okay, good. So I think you should know for those who don't know yet, because there are 3 reasons, let me tell you. So first of all, NSS Labs, I assume you're all familiar with those. So when they put on the public test, they invited 12 vendors with 13 products. So Hillstone Next Generation Firewall came out as the best value vendor. If you look at the screen, that the green dot is the right uppermost. So they put all of the 13 products, you can name it, Cisco, Checkpoint, Palo Alto, Fortinet, etc. So go through 3 months thorough test from security effectiveness, from the performance, functionality. Also, they even compared the price. In terms of security effectiveness, Hillstone came out at the 3rd, and for the price performance, we're actually number 1. Gartner Magic Quadrant, you're all familiar with this. So Hillstone was listed in 3 categories: next generation firewall, UTM, as well as intrusion detection and prevention system. So guess who are, so in the world, there's only 3 vendors listed in all 3 categories. So guess who are those 3 vendors? Cisco, Huawei, and Hillstone. So third one, I think if you are familiar with an NFV initiative, 2 months ago in France, ETSI held the 2nd plaque test. So they invited total 32 vendors. There are some like mono vendors, 15, and VM, virtual infrastructure management vendors, 7. And Hillstone, as one of the VNF, virtual network function vendors, represent the security, participate in this test. We actually was only 2 security vendors. Another one is a Fortinet. But we presented as the broadest compatibility with 8 out of 15 and 5 out of 7 vendors. We went through all of these tests. So all of this, I'm just trying to tell you a little bit background about Hillstone. So we are definitely the first tier next generation firewall vendors. Okay. So the theme of this event is get real. I think that resonates with our philosophy very well, because we believe no matter how fancy your approach, your concept, your algorithm is, the end of the day, the bottom line is it has to work. Once you put your security, your solution, everything into customer production network, it has to do its job, right? It has to really protect the customer's network. So I'm going to share with you 3 use cases, 3 solutions we're actually doing very well. The first one is a ransomware protection with our intelligent next generation firewall. So ransomware, everybody is very familiar with this. In 2017, it made the single big headline. In last May, there's a big outrage with WannaCry. So some study shows numbers, 350% increase in terms of number of ransomware. The global loss because of ransomware predicted to be more than 5 billion, increase from 350 million before. And also ransom itself, from like $300, $400 we used to know, to more than $1,000 today. And also 40% spam emails you receive every day has a link back to the ransomware. So it become a big, huge problem. It's just beside you and me. So how can we do this? So we have a customer worldwide, 15,000 customers. And some of those, they do deploy our intelligent next generation firewall. We call it T-series. And actually during the last May and August, I think there's 2 outrages. We have 2 customers. One is the energy customer, the largest energy customer in Costa Rica. The other one is also energy customer in Mexico. So they are POC testing our products. They kind of like test this for a couple of months. They are debating, relatively new brand, lot of innovations with Hillstone, or versus, established brand. But this time, WannaCry happened, and our products did catch or detect WannaCry and stop it. So we make that network manager looks really good in front of their management. So they're very happy to tell us, okay, so your device works. And I tell my management, okay, let's purchase. So we got PO right after that. So let me show you some examples. How can we do that? If you look at this, this is basically the real, it's pulled out from the real customer production network. So we hide destination and source address for privacy. So this is the GUI interface of our product. So you can see, to show you one example, WannaCry detected by antivirus signature. So if you look at the timestamp, that is showing, I think it's May 14th. So it's during that cycle. So we immediately update AV signature database so that they can catch this new malware very quickly. So by then you say, oh, I see. So your next generation can protect from ransomware because you update your signature, your database in time, so that you can protect. Is that true? Yes, it is, but it's a very first basic step. So for those like unknown file, we don't recognize that by AV signatures, so we send it to our sandbox. Our sandbox run that in their virtual environment and detect the same thing. So look at this. This is an instance happened in May 13th. So it did capture by our cloud sandbox and give you lots of details about this children ransomware. So sandbox, okay, is good, but what about if a ransomware, they easily pass your first defense, AV, IPS, sandbox, it gets into your network already. So by that time, it needs to go back to contact their command and control center. So what can we do at that time? So we have a very unique technology we call abnormal behavior detection engine. So that is one of Hillstone patents. So with this engine, we analyze the normal behavior of a host and user. I'll talk about this more later. So showing the same thing. It's also happened, I think it's in May 12th. We're showing different page of this one. So you don't see the exactly same contents as the last two. But it shows there's a domain name when this infected host are trying to contact. That domain name was recognized as a CNC link. So then we stop the ransomware from there. You can see that basically the strategy is you put the multiple layers, multiple defenders, a first defense, second defense, third level defense, and we also have a couple of more. So I have those work step by step and trying to stop the threat in every minute. So I want to talk about the two unique technology. For example, like AV, IPS, everybody has it. Sandbox today is also kind of a de facto features or functions for next generation firewalls. Everybody has it. But this two is a very unique with Hillstone. So that's what I'm talking about, machine learning, etc. So we have this abnormal behavior detection engine. The theory behind it is you use a machine learning way to learn your user behavior or your host behavior from more than 50 plus dimensions, okay? So it examines, like, for example, like a URL, length, wealth, and depth, and cookies, number of sessions per minute, etc. So they put all of the dimensions together. They set up the model, so baseline model. So you have your normal model. Once everything beyond this, then it will alert. So basically, for the user or server, they compare with the same source address. For example, like a server, same kind of server, same group of source address. Usually, they have a very similar behavior. If one of them shows something that's very unique or different, it will alarm you. And we put into the numbers, like a risk level, the critical, high, or medium. And also we give confidence level, your certainty. 100% sure there's something wrong, please block it. Or I'm 80% or 70% sure, you better to take some action to monitor that. Okay. So another technology is we call advanced threat detection engine. It's also sort of a machine learning based. This is instead of to study host or user behavior, this is to study malware behavior. For example, we know malware is like human being. They all have a DNA. They have a lot of variants, but bottom line, they share a lot of attributes if they belong to the same family. Okay. So we basically feed in the known malware to our cloud platform every day, like 1,000 millions known malware. So we examine with 3,000 dimensions, like each malware, what the attributes, and cluster them into the different families or different DNA. When something unknown get into your network, so we do the same examination, and then if there's only a variance, something new with the same root, so you can easily to identify those. So this is the way we basically detect advanced threat or something you never seen before. Okay, I talk about many defenders, for example, AV, IPS, ATD, ABD, etc. So each of the defender, they can work independently, as I just showed to you. But more importantly, or more valuable is we have this correlation analytics engine. So basically, you have all of the feed. For example, you see the host just download the PE file. You saw that from your sandbox. And then 30 minutes later, in this same host, for example, trying to contact some domain name, then you recognize with the ABD engine that is something suspicious domain name. So you probably can alert your administrator. So this is a reduce the false positive dramatically. So as a network, security professional, like a false positive, that's a big enemy to you, right? So lots of information, but nothing is sure. So that's very bad. So with the correlation engine, we can be pretty sure there's something wrong, needs your attention. And one more step, we even put all of those events into, we call the kill chain. 7 steps of kill chain. So you can very easily to see, this malware, what it's doing, and then where, it is in the initial stage or trying to do the CNC, etc. So everything graphically showed on your next generation firewall, so it's very clear. And very important, I want to point out, as a firewall, if you have this detection capabilities, you have a lot of advantage because the firewall itself is an enforcement device. So you can apply mitigation or blocking or lower down your session per minute or bandwidth immediately. Because if you have a dedicated or separate detection platform, so you have to have another enforcement device to help you to control. So that's the advantage of firewall has a lot of forensic analysis capabilities. Okay. So that's the first use case. Second use case, I want you kind of shift your mind from enterprise parameter to the cloud. So large enterprise, they usually have a cloud, either private or public. And also there's a virtualization center based on VMware or OpenStack, right? So what's the problem over there? So this is also the real customer production network. So it's an ugly picture, but do you see the problem? So as a security professional, you probably easily can find they put web server application server, database server on the same layer 2 flat network. There's no separation, no access control. So we all know in the traditional data center, if you have a web server at the front and the application server and database server, you usually apply the physical firewall in between. So it's kind of a sandwich and isolate the access. However, in the virtual world, because sometimes application server and web server, they are running on the same virtual machine. They are running on the virtual machine, maybe on the same physical server, right? So the boundary really blur. So how can you separate those? Somebody say, okay, we can do VLAN. Yes, you can do VLAN, but it needs lots of configurations on your routers, switches. And if a virtual machine migrate from one physical server to another physical server, so you have to change your VLAN configuration. So it's a very complex. So for the easy work, lots of customers, they just choose to use a VMware, what they provide, just a layer 2 network, put everything in. But it's very risky. Of course, this is the before VMware 6.0, before NSX. VMware realized there's a big problem, so they had this NSX coming out to do layer 2 to layer 4 segmentation. So what we can offer is the solution we call Cloud Hive. So Hive means, it's a beehive, right? So it's a distributed model. If you look at this, so we apply, we have this blue box in each physical server. It's software-based, running on the virtual machine. It has the security services running on that. So each of the virtual machine on the same physical server, in and out traffic has to go through this security service module. So you can apply control over there. So that means we call this a bodyguard for virtual machine. You can see each virtual machine's the sessions and communications outside. So it can provide a very clear visibility for the data center east-west traffic. And also, because of this security service module is distributed, it can talk to SOM, which is orchestration manager, and this again talk to vCenter, the cloud platform, to get a lot of information about virtual machine change. For example, if a virtual machine migrate from one physical server to another, vCenter will tell SSM, and SSM, local SSM and destination SSM, they'll sync. So all of the policy around this virtual machine migrate all together. So it's very convenient, it's layer 2 base, there's no change for layer 3 configuration, okay? So this is what I'm saying, because many times the cloud, either public or private, it looks like black box for a lot of administrator, because you don't know which server talk to who talks to who, and traffic and application, etc. But with this, it can draw very clear pictures, who's talking to who, and the link between those two is a problem or not. If there's a risky link, it can indicate with the red link. So you can always click through or drill down, provides you lots of information what's going on. And we have a customer in UK. They are the hosting service provider. So they have they host the customers' applications on their physical server. So they came to us for this solution because they want to find something really stop any malware to do lateral movement. They don't want, whereas one virtual machine has a problem, is infected the other in the same server. So they deploy this, they're happy, and then they purchase more. Okay. So that's a macro segmentation. So the third use case I'm going to share is, we call it NFV. It's a very popular terminology. I think if there's a telecom customer, you are either, I'm kind of 90%, 100% sure you are driving something related to NFV today, network function virtualization. So I really don't want to spend too much time on this because you guys know better than me why NFV, why service provider today want to move everything to NFV, easy to deploy, large deployment, flexibility, etc. What I'm going to tell you is our solution called Cloud Edge is ideal for NFV deployment. So NFV, in many cases, people think, okay, it's just a virtual image. And you have a firewall as a physical appliance, and then you virtualize that, become virtual firewall. So that means I have NFV. No, that's not true. That's just a very first step, because NFV is not just about virtual image. It's more about how you control the license. How do you do auto deployment? Because you used to configure like physical box, right? So one by one. But with a virtual firewall, it can be like hundreds, thousands. How do you deploy them in a very like timely manner? And how you maintain the configuration change management, etc. So it can be very complex. So the Cloud Edge, as I mentioned before, so it participates ETSI second plug test, and then actually shows like a very broad compatibility. And also we support many scenarios you can do NFV. For example, there's 3 typical scenarios. One is the orchestration, the cloud orchestration based on some cloud platform. For example, either OpenStack or VMware or some third party. So we can communicate through the REST API. So we adapt to their environment. And second one is we know like OpenStack has a neutron module, it's a networking module. So we can plug in firewall as a service into that module. So you can orchestrate this based on OpenStack. So offer like a firewall as a service. And the third scenario is really for the large deployment. There's an open source tool, Mono, that's a Attacker tool. So you can use that for the service chain arrangement. You can very easy to set up a template to deploy your virtual firewall. You also can service chain more network functionality, for example, virtual IPS, the virtual load balancer, etc. So we support all of the 3 scenarios. It's being tested and proven. Okay. So this is what I mean. So auto deployment is a key for NFV. So in the past, when you have a physical appliance, so you basically what you do, open up the box, get your device out, and then plug the power and do configuration, IP address, etc. And then with the image today, the virtual image. So the same thing, you use the image, you deploy this virtual in virtual machine, start virtual machine, acquire address, etc. So it's the same amount of work. But with Hillstone solution, so you can just set up the template and then copy everything. Basically, with a one click, in 2 or 3 minutes, you can deploy hundreds of your virtual firewall, and then you can also chain other services. So I prepared the video clips to show the demo, but I worry about the audio play from the laptop, so I removed that. But if you are interested in the solution, please go to our website. There is online demo, so you can see how we can do that in 2 or 3 minutes. It's very simple. So that's how you differentiate us. It's not like I have a virtual firewall image. That means I have NFV, right? Okay, so I talk about 3 use cases. 30 minutes is not that much. There's a lot of innovations, good solutions with Hillstone. I really encourage you to go to our website or talk to us in the booth. I just show you a couple of examples, but we actually have a full product portfolio. So all the way from the enterprise parameters, so you have all different kinds of next generation firewall. to the server protection, so we apply all of intelligence to the detection and platform, then you can deploy that in front of your server farm. It has the box, it's orange box, it's same color as my clothes today. And also the cloud solution, the Cloud Edge Hive, I kind of talk about that. And of course, the management platform. So if you first time know about Hillstone, I hope my talk help you to understand our technology and solution a little bit better. And the last thing I want to point out, the real security, the organizer of this event is our partner, is our local partner. So if you have you need the solution, you want to contact us, you can go to Real Security at any time. Okay, thank you all very much.
Lingling Zhang, ladies and gentlemen.